Hi everyone, it's Bethany and Garrett here and welcome back to this little corner of the internet. It's been a while. I am English born, Kiwi raised, currently living in Melbourne, Australia, and it has been 7 months. I'm aware I'm going to yap more about it in a vlog. However, this video, we're following the books that I really want to get around to reading. My highly anticipated books, not for the year, but for the first quarter. If I was sitting here telling you guys about the books I'm excited for the entire year, it would be a movie, okay? And what I'm really trying to challenge myself to do here is to talk about each book within the space of 1 minute, no more, okay? So if you've got your Goodreads, your Storygraph, a notebook and a pen ready to go, I'm honestly just going to delve right into it and leave the yappage for the first vlog back. Okay, let me scooch over so you guys can see the covers. The first series of books here I have to share with you come out specifically on the 7th of Jan. I don't know what it is about the 7th of Jan, but there's so many books coming out. The first one is actually the first of a series I really want to get around to reading, and it's called The Breath of the Dragon. This is inspired by Bruce Lee, what a tagline, and also follows our main protagonist, Jun, who really wants to go in this competition and win the magical scroll of the earth. Honestly, it sounds very Kung Fu Panda as well, which I am not mad about. However, Jun is not the only sibling in this family. Jun has a twin, and the twin is birthmarked. So basically the twin is meant to be the one who achieves things. So Jun is then forbidden from participating in the tournament. But whoever wins the tournament basically restore the family's honor. So now it's also sounding like Mulan. You will bring shame on your family. I don't know what that accent was. As I'm sure you can see coming, Jun escapes from their father. They go to the capital, they compete, and there's a lot of revelations. Another 7th of January book, I'm just going to talk about it very briefly. It's the next series in the Sean and Maguire Wayward Children series. I believe it's book 9, maybe even book 10. We're reaching book 10 if it isn't already. Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear. This is a very well-known series, so just to keep it short, young people have doorways appear to them and then they go through those doorways and it takes them to an alternate world. Sometimes we see the same characters, sometimes it's a new character that is introduced. Interestingly, this one is described, the main character is described as having 3 mothers, which I'm very intrigued by. And this one is set in the land beneath the lake, so it's very underwater, giant turtles, that kind of stuff. So moving on from the series though, the next 7th of Jan one is called The Stolen Queen. This is a historical novel, but it also alternates between 1938, let me get this right, 1936 and 1978. In 1936, Charlotte is an anthropology student and she's going for an archaeological dig in the Valley of the Kings, but a tragedy hits her life. By 1978, Charlotte is now an associate curator at the Met's Egyptian Art Department, researching a forgotten female pharaoh. Then in comes Annie. Annie is basically helping with Met Gala stuff. I'm guessing it's like pharaoh themed or something, and one of the ancient items is stolen. It's thought to be linked to a curse. Then Annie and Charlotte team up, and it kind of takes Charlotte back to that first period of her time with the Egypt archaeological dig. You with? You're with. Another 7th of Jan, All the Water in the World. This is a literary thriller, and it's set in a flooded New York City. So like Venice, but not Venice, New York City, and like not meant to be floating, but it is. Now Nonnie, N-O-N-I-E, her family, some researchers, they're currently on top of the Museum of Natural History and they are trying to save all of the stuff inside of the museum as best as they can. But then a big superstorm hits. So honestly, this also sounds very dystopian. They're forced to escape and the only thing they have is like a book with all the lost treasure in them. So they couldn't take it with them, but they could record that it was actually like a thing. And the rest of the story continues with Nonnie and her family and the curators, or whoever, the researchers, as they are kind of like trying to survive, traveling along, and then it's like glimpsing sections of humanity living in this new era. And it's also meant to emulate the real life experiences of people who would try and protect cultural artifacts during war times, which I thought was kind of interesting. Next we have Water Moon, 2 books with water in the name, unintentional. This one is a fantasy. Our protagonist inherits a pawn shop from her father where like lonely lost souls come in and they trade in their regrets and like bad life choices and stuff. Intriguing concept. But Hannah, on her first day working there, shop is ransacked, father is missing. It's like the Home Alone dude. Then in comes this like physicist fella, and instead of needing help, he decides to help Hannah, and they go on this journey, and it's kind of somehow giving me Piranesi vibes. I can't quite put my finger on why, but it is. And then Hannah uncovers something life-changing, and I'm going to find out what that is. The next book is also the start of a new series. It is called Lightfall. I'm just going to read it off the blurb because this one is nice and precise already. It's an epic fantasy adventure with vampires, werewolves and sorcery, so very paranormal fantasy. It's set in the last vampire city of First Light, where blood defines your status. Palace maid Sam is tired of cleaning up after the elite, but when she stumbles upon a clue to a lord's murder, she takes her shot at a better life. Honestly, fair enough, Sam, fair enough. She teams up with some rebel maids, a sorcerer, a werewolf, assassin, a countess of secrets to uncover danger, power, and immortality, and basically realizes that there's this whole undermining conspiracy theory on how the vampires running the show are ruling. So basically it sounds like the vampires are the baddies and Sam uncovers a way to take them down. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls follows our main protagonist Fern. She is 15 and it's the 1970s. She gets pregnant and she is sent to the home of wayward girls because, shock horror, how dare there be a child out of wedlock. I'm sure there's actually some not great circumstances leading up to Fern's pregnancy, but I'll find out. Anywho, she's in this home for wayward girls. Their babies are then given up for adoption, and then the girls' lives are really tightly controlled. And she meets some friends there, but one day things change when Fern and her friends go to the library, and the librarian gives Fern a book on witchcraft. First of all, love the message about a book being the catalyst for change and embracing power. Yes. So Fern and her friends start to learn some witchcraft, but alongside this witchcraft there are consequences, and the rebellion had some really bad consequences. And basically it sounds like Fern and her friends have to learn that with this power and freedom there comes a price. Only going to mention this one briefly. Onyx Storm, book 3 in the Empyrean trilogy. Actually, I don't think it's a trilogy anymore. I think there's definitely going to be more books. Dragons, fantasy, you've probably heard this. It's all over social media, and if you haven't heard about it, it's probably not for you. So I'm just going to continue on going. Just know that this one is on my list, and we're going to read it in February or March. I think February, for our February book club pick of the month, with me and some girls. The last January book is also the start of a series. It's called Feybound, and first things first, this cover is absolutely stunning and is definitely what drew me in. But then I learned it's about elves, and I cannot remember the last time I read just a good elf story. We follow Yiren, who is a female elven warrior, and then Yiren's sister is Letel, who tries to make a living as diviner. The elder, I keep saying elder sister, I don't know if Yiren is the older sister. The warrior sister makes a mistake, and her other sister, the sisters are banished. I'm saying sister way too many times. The sisters are banished because of something the warrior sister did. Now, it's not super clear to me if Yiren and her sister are actually elves, because then when they're banished they come across the Fey courts, and to quote the blurb, Yiren and Leto are thrust into the elves' seductive world, torn between their loyalty to each other, their elven homeland, and their hearts. It just sounds like a really good fantasy elf story. Next is possibly the most anticipated. It's definitely up there. One of the most anticipated books for me is Ali Hazelwood's Deep, and I just love her stories. I'm just realizing now there are so many novels with water words in them on this list. And honestly, I think this one, I'm really hyping it up in my head a little bit because it's about the love interest is a swimmer. Little fact about me, I was a competitive swimmer. Some people, their sport is netball or football. I'm a swimmer. So I feel like this one is going to just absolutely absorb me. The female protagonist is someone wanting to go into med school. The male love interest is the world champion swimmer. They have differences, but they come together through like a shared secret. Of course, it's a romance. Things start to get casual, but then the Olympics come up and things start to get serious, and that's the blurb. I'm trying not to overhype this in my head, but I really think I'm gonna love it. Dream Girl Drama also comes out to finish the Big Shots trilogy. I read the first 2 books earlier this year, just a few months ago, and they were a really easy series for me to just get lost in. It's basically just a sports romance. That's all you need to know. This one in particular is really interesting though, because the 2 people who are like the couple are soon to be step siblings. Yeah, no bloodshed, but her mum and his dad are marrying. Okay, earlier this year I read this book, Tender as the Flesh, literally like this month I think. I will never stop thinking about this book. The author is coming out with a new one. This is the Sacred Sisterhood, and our main protagonist lives in like a violent convent. They also live in secret as the world outside crumbles, so I'm very intrigued like how dystopian this might turn as well. Ultimately, the big goal of being in this convent is to then become one of the enlightened, and our main character is like, this is her big dream, until this other woman joins the convent and kind of like upsets the balance, makes our main protagonist, I don't think we have a name, no, makes our main protagonist think about what's happening. It's described, oh yeah, it says here, dystopian feminist horror that explores themes of climate crisis, ideological extremism, and the dark side of human nature. If it's anything like Tender of the Flesh, brilliant book by the way. It's definitely going to be twisted, and another novel I will not be able to stop thinking about. Another one that is probably on everybody's list, whipping through it, Sunrise on the Reaping, Hamish's story. I'm going to read this I think for our March book club pick with me and my mates. Moving on. And then we get to the last book so far that I'm aware of that I really want to read in this upcoming quarter. It's called Blood on Her Tongue. I love how evocative that is. It just reminds me of Saltburn. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's also historical. Hang on, I won't go down that rabbit hole yet, but it is historical. I was about to go off on a tangent. We'll get there. 1887, Lucy has a twin sister called Sarah. Sarah is unwell. She refuses to eat, mumbles, obsessed with like a centuries-old course that has recently been discovered. As happens during this time, she's determined to be a lunatic and needs to go in for open brain surgery. Oh. But Lucy, of course, doesn't want her sister to go to an insane asylum, so she tries to uncover what's happening in her sister's mind. But then things start to turn like strange, and Sarah starts to get a thirst, a hunger, a strange desire for, well, blood on the tongue. Those are all the novels and series that parts that I am aware of at the moment that I really want to read. I will admit, I'll just let you go, not even admit, I'll just let you all know right now, if you're expecting to see me read these straight away this year, that's not how this girl works. I hardly buy books. I am a library girl, loud and proud, so I will read them when I can get my hands on them. Also, the little tangent I started going down before, you might have noticed that there's hardly any, if there are any, YA novels on this list. I've just read YA on and off the past few years and it never hits. So I guess what I'm saying here is I'm noticing my reading tastes change a little bit. I'm moving away from YA a bit, not completely, but less YA, and interestingly, a lot more historical, a lot more thriller horror is sneaking in, and I'm loving that for me. If you are excited to read any of these books and definitely want to see my thoughts about them, like a reading vlog, let me know. If you think there are books that I have missed that you know are coming out January, February and March that I might like, let me know. I prefaced at the beginning, I'm not about to start yapping about where I've been the last 7 months. I will leave that for the vlog, which should be coming out like 3 days after this. I'm currently filming this on Tuesday. I'm flying to New Zealand on Saturday. And I'm going to keep my vlogs between 10 to 20 minutes, which might be daily, which might be every other day whilst I'm on holiday. So just keep an eye out. The content's going to start coming out for you guys again. Thank you, Zach, for checking in on me via the comments, and just thank you guys for still being here, still supporting and making it to the end of this video. If you are new here and you'd love to join this community, please consider leaving a cheeky like, subscribe or comment down below. It really helps this small little YouTuber out in this corner of the internet. With that all being said and done, enjoy all the places you go in your own reading and life adventures. Wow, I remember my intro. Damn. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye. Oh, this feels so good.